Well, hey, good evening, gardening friends. Thought I'd start a little earlier tonight, and once I'm done live streaming tonight, I'll be adding a little something to the thumbnail and the title because this is going to be another video for Mrs. Green Thumb's Tomato Challenge. A few weeks back, I started tomatoes and I was trying to figure out which one I was going to enter into her little competition, and decided on a variety he grew about 4 years ago called Dallas Wilson Cuban, or DWC for short. It's a local variety, something that one of the local grow centers, greenhouses had developed. And but I haven't seen it for sale since the greenhouse changed hands a couple years ago. So who knows? Maybe it's not in existence anymore. Maybe there's other growers that are growing it. Maybe they have it. They just chose, not to sell it those particular years and went with other varieties. Regardless, I did save seeds from the massive tomato, one of the massive tomatoes we got off the plants. And so I want to take you along tonight as we're getting ready to pot up the DWC. So I've got my trays prepped. Also did my desters tonight. They were looking pretty good. I need to water them in yet, but anyway, my Pro Mix. This is basically Pro Mix and about 10 cups of worm castings mixed in, and about a cup of that azomite rock dust. Mixed it in real nice. Now I can wet this down, but it's better actually to pot stuff up when it's dry. This mix is a lot easier to work with, a lot easier to set the plants in, move this stuff around, and then water it in once you're done. So went ahead and filled up my, I think these are 16-ounce cups or pots that I got that are about 5 inches tall and like a 3x3 square at the top. We took our dibber and went down probably about 3 inches really. Got my trusty soil knife / modified tent peg. And we've got our tomatoes. Now I've been kind of giving this time, and there's still more seeds coming up. I now have 3, 4, 5, 6. It's hard to count them all because they're hiding each other. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. So there's 14 tomatoes in this pot. I did start another pot as well because initially there wasn't hardly anything sprouted out of this pot, and I was concerned. So went ahead and started another pot, and one seed came up right away. But and there's probably 10 to 15 more seeds in there, and nothing else has come up. But I'm going to continue to just let this do its thing because I suspect we're going to have more that pop up. Maybe not initially, but that will eventually come up as they come out of dormancy. So we'll see. I may dig this one up and pot it up with the rest. I may not. Does seem like all my older seeds, again, kind of talking last night, a lot of my older seeds took a lot longer to germinate or sprout than the newer ones that were maybe harvested last year, for seed starting this year. The stuff that had been several years old, that's been, in the refrigerator and whatnot, just for whatever reason, took longer to come out of dormancy and sprout. So that's just kind of how it was this year for whatever reason. So let's turn this around and we will get started on potting these up. Kind of adjust this. Move this over just a little bit so you can see what I'm doing here with the soil knife. Maybe we'll adjust this back just a bit. Again, in other videos I've had, when you're getting ready to pot these up, it's better to do it when it's somewhat a little dry, because they're easier to separate the seedlings from one another, especially if the roots are entwined. You can kind of massage them away from each other. But basically, I'm going to take the tool and kind of come in on the side and go down as far as I can, because there's probably a fair amount of roots. It's wanting to pull the whole thing up, which we could do that too. I'll probably be able to get the rest of that out. Trying not to tear up any of the roots or bend any of the stems. And I think I was successful. I don't see really any root chunks in there, so that's good. Sometimes you can get in under it, and then if you only got a couple seeds sprouted, put your hand over it like this and then turn it upside down, massage the pot, get it, and then plop it down, and then divide your plants out. So I'm just going to kind of gently squeeze this apart a little bit. And pretty nice. There's some nice roots on that. I'm holding it by the seed leaf so I don't damage the plant. If I tear one of these leaves, it's no big deal. The stem and the roots are still intact. It'll be fine. But if I bend the stem or snap off roots, I've got a lot greater chance of basically killing the plant or severely stunting it. We're just going to put it in a hole, and then basically I'm just going to hold on to one of the seed leaf until I get it soil level. And then with my other hand, squeeze the potting mix around it, pack it in there pretty good, and that's one. Got our second one, kind of the same deal. Lower it in the hole, and kind of massage that in. There's a second one. Some of these I can break off some of these clods, just so it's easier to get in the new pot. Also, some of these you'll see where the leaves haven't quite broken free from the husk of the seed, and that's okay. Sometimes you can gently remove it. If you water it though a couple times, eventually that'll soften up, and the leaves will break free. In fact, these are already apart. It's just hanging on to the one leaf, so I could probably, we'll watch that. Eventually it may fall off. Alright, now these are probably my two best DWCs so far as being furthest along. Whoops. There are not a lot of roots on that, so that's a little bit of a concern. But dropping this in all the way to soil level, those little follicles on the stem will morph into roots, and basically that whole stem would become a bigger root stock, you know, as it's putting out new growth. Alright, so we got 5. There's the rest of them. Let's see if we can break that apart. Yep. Now these tomatoes are actually further along than the ones out at the greenhouse, because it's been kind of cooler temps, and these have been on the heat mat underneath grow lights. And getting maybe just a little bit more attention. Now look at that. There's one that kind of fell out of that clump. Let's see, we may pot that one up. So good 9. See if we can get the rest of these in. And a couple of small ones there. There's one that sprouted and looks a little, just a little stunted. So I got 12 plants altogether right there. Again, we're going to give the other pot some time. So there we have it. We'll keep these in the grow room for at least till this weekend. We'll see how the weather goes. And then maybe try to get them out the greenhouse. I messaged my dad because it's been overcast all day today, and temps have been kind of cold. So he turned up the heat in the greenhouse, and my sister's as well, to try to keep things going. On the plus side, I don't have to go out and water tonight. With it being cooler temps, the plants aren't taking up a lot of water. They're not having to perspire, or what they call it, transpiration. Where they're trying to maintain their temperature and doing the photosynthesis and all that stuff, and then taking up water, and it's evaporating out. So I won't have to worry about that. So how's it going, Ron? Are you the one that's still on here? I saw your video today on, or one of your videos. You had an interview you'd posted with a cattle rancher and Tyson Foods, and how Tyson's bringing in the foreign grown meat, and how basically, ranchers basically advocating for labeling. Hey Stone. Yeah, we got DWC all potted up, so I'll be linking this to the tomato challenge, and see how things go. I'm hoping it'll do well. The seeds look pretty good. The plants already have a set of true leaves coming out, and I got it in a really good potting mix with worm castings and azomite, and I'm gonna be babying these seedlings. So I'm hopeful they're gonna get a really good start, and then we can get them out, and hopefully they'll survive the season and produce really big monster tomatoes, so I can save some seeds. Yeah, I heard that. We haven't seen it hit yet, but if eventually it will. There was some thing in the news tonight, just talking about the supply chain and kind of how everything's connected, and kind of highlighting some of the challenges. I think they featured like a restaurant. Yeah, good thing you do hunt and fish. Good thing we're gonna barter this year and swap veggies for meat. Maybe you have to bring over some of that rabbit. We just won't tell the kids. Oh, shoot. Yeah, I don't know. So it's going to be interesting. We found it's a local producer. They do grass-fed beef and all that stuff. Anyway, we're advertising sides of meat. Yeah, I got a rabbit story. So I was, growing up, one of the things that was ended up kind of getting forced into it wasn't really forced into at first, but it became like, you're gonna stick this out type deal, was Boy Scouts. I was in Cub Scouts. That was all fun, a lot of friends. But then when we went into Boy Scouts, it was I guess as a Catholic troop or whatever. But anyway, that's neither here nor there. But they were some rough kids, rough boys, rough young men. Because we had people that were 16, 17, 18 years old. I guess 18 is the oldest you can be, and then you age out of it and you go to like Life Scouts or something. But anyway, we did all kinds of stuff. We had a Christmas tree lot. This is in Evansville, Indiana. So there's a Christmas tree lot, and we'd sell Christmas trees, and they make enough money. We could go on these real big trips, and one of them was New York. One time we went to New York, you know, piling like 70 of us, you know, school bus, you know, vans, just caravan going up there, and we stayed at a military base. I mean, some really cool stuff we were able to do. But one trip in particular was a cold winter overnight. And the idea was that, well, you're gonna, you know, learn to survive in like freezing temperatures and stuff. So they, you know, we had the kind of army tents and stuff, and then they brought up straw, and the idea is you're gonna pack the floor of your tent, or you're gonna sleep with straw, so you don't freeze to death at night or anything, you know, like just to insulate you and help you and all that. And I don't know, it's crazy. So, but one of the other things with this was they brought in a truckload of domesticated rabbits that were, you know, full size and stuff. Didn't tell anyone what was up, and like we had no clue. And so they drive this truckload up, and scout leaders have us all, you know, get together in our little patrols. And each patrol had to pick out a rabbit. And so we picked out a rabbit, and we were holding the rabbit and petting the rabbit and stuff. And it's, you know, cool. And then they proceed to tell us that, yeah, today you're going to learn how to kill a rabbit, skin a rabbit, clean a rabbit, cook a rabbit, right? And what they had was a little billy club, this wooden, kind of thick wooden, is almost like a mini ball bat billy club basically. And what they wanted us to do is they come up, and so they demonstrated the one. They, you know, took the rabbit, held it up by its back legs. It's kind of bouncing around and stuff, and one quick swing breaks its neck, and then he proceeds to squeeze all the pee out of it, and then skinned it. I mean, he did the whole thing. We were just kind of like mortified because I had no experience with any of that stuff. And then they brought us no, we unfortunately the troop, like I said, was pretty rough. I mean, they bring alcohol on trips, you know, and there were some, I wouldn't be surprised if there weren't drugs going on and some different things. But we ended up getting out. My brother just completely hated it because he got picked on a lot. A lot of older boys, I mean, there was hazing and stuff that went on. He quit, and then basically I told my dad, I got, I think, all the way up to first class or whatever. But I told my dad, I was like, you know, this isn't worth it anymore. You're going to have to just come to one of the meetings and see. So he came to observe, and I kid you not, at the end of the meeting, there was this commotion, and people were yelling. We were downstairs in this church order, and people were yelling. We were towards the end of the meeting, and a group of the guys were out in the parking lot. There was basically a street fight between some of the guys in the troop and this new guy that had come. And I guess the rub was that he was wearing sunglasses inside, and one of the older guys, you know, certain himself, came around and told him to take them off, and he basically told him to flip off or whatever. And make a long story short, they duked it out in the parking lot, and I ended up in those guys going to the hospital. And I was like, see, I told you, this is just. And so my dad's like, all right, we're done with this. We're going to move on. So we ended up doing 4-H instead, and doing projects and stuff like that. It was fine. But anyway, that whole rabbit experience was interesting, you know, and I get up, and I'm only, you know, I'm about 13 or something, and they're wanting me to kill this rabbit. And when I swung, of course, it didn't kill the rabbit. Instead, the way it was hopping around, and ended up hitting it right in the middle of the back. And things just suffering, and they take the club out of my hand and then, whap it. And then what was really bad about the whole thing is once we got the thing, dressed, like we skinned it and all that stuff, we put it on a spick over a little campfire to cook. And I guess the guy that was overseeing that wasn't paying attention, and we didn't have a thick enough stick or something. Anyway, the rabbit ended up falling in the fire, and we ended up eating Star Crunch that weekend. So, hey.
Can you play me?
No, not yet, honey. We will here in a little bit. I'll be right there, okay?
Okay. So in like 20 minutes.
Probably, yeah. Yeah. That's awesome, man. Yeah, so anyway, that was that with all of that. Oh, shoot. But good times. We had a lot of fun, I guess, growing up and doing things. But like I said, not a lot of positive experiences with processing animals or anything like that. So, yeah. Yeah, PVC. Was it like loaded with concrete? Or was it just long enough that the speed of it would just take care of it? Yeah, I imagine it's a speed. They are pretty, I don't know. I remember at the old house, just on this trail, rabbit trail, you know, funny, haha. So on this little rabbit trail here, there was a little nest that was next door when I had the garden there at the house, and the rabbits were right there at the fence. And the bottom of the fence are places where it was just, yeah. But some pieces where the slats were missing or broken off at the bottom, and our miniature dachshund, well, you've seen our dog. She's down there, and she knows the rabbits are on the other side, and she's just waiting for them to hop through that slat. And sure enough, one of them does. She grabs that thing. It was, killed it immediately and whatnot. Well, then she's running around the yard because she was going to try to eat it right there, and we were scolding the dog trying to catch her, and she took that thing and just threw it up in the air, caught it, ripped the head off, and swallowed the head whole. And there's this headless rabbit just laying in the yard, and the kids are screaming, and it's just. This that was a memory. So what you been up to, man? What all's going on? That's too much, man. That's hilarious. Did you have any luck yet? Have you seen any turkeys yet? No. Yeah, hopefully. I'm sure there's going to be some more this weekend if the sun comes out. we spend time raking out the beds. We got 8 beds that we're trying to get ready for planting, and it's probably 8 inches of leaf mulch. Huh. But yeah, it's been interesting. Um, and my greens, I really need to get them planted out. They are, I think, starting to struggle a little bit in those pots. I mean, I've got them in large pots, but they're kind of exhausting everything that's in there. I gotta fertilize them like almost every day just to keep them going because they just require so much. So once the weather breaks and the sun comes out and starts drying out some of these beds, we'll be able to drill down and plant them. That's awesome. So how's Gracie doing with everything? Is she still working some shifts over at the fire department? Yeah. Yeah, it's hearing stuff in the news and stuff like that. It's kind of cool. Like she's got those opportunities and stuff. Hopefully, I don't know. Hopefully, things will turn around a little bit. I know you were doing the business planning and stuff on getting a wildlife store. I kind of wonder if like one of those things you could teach almost like outdoor skills. I bet there'd be some interest in that. Yeah. I think more and more people are interested in it. I know we're as far as yeah, you should, man. That would be really neat. I know years ago I had that bug of like wanting to start a business or do something, and part of it was because just things were just stressful as a carrier at the time, delivering mail, and it was just you know get to a point and it's just kind of becomes this mindless job. You're just going through the motions, and I was like, man, I need something that's going to be a little more intellectually stimulating here, rather than walking the same route every single day, type stuff like that. So kind of looked into that, but there wasn't anything that ever really presented itself or like that, really keyed in on, but did a lot of reading on like business planning and thinking through some ideas and things like that. I think it will. I think the kids be promoting it, social media or getting networked, somehow, whether it's like through Facebook or some kind of platform, or even at like just thinking about people at the local church or something like that. I'm sure there's probably a lot of people that are doing some things along that line, but there's probably a lot more that would be interested in learning. Yeah, how-to videos. I've kind of toyed around with developing some kind of gardening course for kids or something like that. I've talked about it the last couple of years, but not really. I mean, other than just making videos here for fun, and kind of interacting online. Nothing serious. Um, but my son is taking botany this next school year. Yeah. And there'd probably be companies that would send you stuff too. Like if your content, you get some traction. Um, you could probably get some people to send you product, or the other thing is you just start demoing product where you get it yourself, and eventually people, you get enough views on that would catch on. And there's ways of doing it. We went to was it 2 years ago, the homeschool convention in Cincinnati, just to see what all was out there, and they actually had a workshop for YouTuber, like people that wanted to get into YouTube, which I thought was kind of interesting. So I went because I already had a channel at that time with about like 650 subscribers or something like that. Thought, well, check this out. And I guess the dude, he works for YouTube full time. He's a consultant, and actually he's a consultant to companies and corporations that want to get their content viewed, and so he gives them advice. And I guess he's written a couple books. And I'll have to go back. I think I still have the video. I recorded a session, I think. I'll have to go back and see if I can find that. If I can find that, I'll share that with you. That'd be cool. Yeah, so other than that, have you had a chance to study at all? Do you guys spend any time in the Word? Have you had any time to read? Yeah, that'd be cool. Yeah, here lately, well, that's cool. I haven't really, I know they've got a plan. I haven't really been following that. I try to listen now and then. I think I'm studying, I think it's First Chronicles in the car, listening to it, not every day, but off and on. And then with the little kids, we're going through um, some Old Testament stuff. We're doing the book of Deuteronomy right now, which has been really interesting for them. Um, kind of connecting the dots and stuff like that. I guess that whole book is like Moses' farewell address to the nation. Is like, he's not going to be going into Canaan, and so he's basically writing a record of, recounting how the Lord brought him out of Egypt and then took them through the wilderness, and then they're failing, at Kadesh Barnea, and how they tested the Lord and stuff like that. And so now they're kind of back there again, like getting ready to cross over. And so it's, he's like exhorting them, like, hey, when you guys go in, don't forget the Lord. Make sure you wipe out all these idol worshippers and don't tolerate that stuff. Otherwise, it's going to become a trap for you and ultimately lead you. It's going to have a lot of consequences and stumble you and stuff like that. And anyway, it's kind of cool. A little study like applying that and then, you know, unpacking that for the kids a little bit, like what that means for us, because it's all like pictures and types, like foreshadows, like what what the Lord has for us. I guess there's some old gospel hymns and stuff where they talk about the promised land like it's heaven, but it's really not. It's more of a picture of like victorious Christian life, like because there was famine, there was war, there was all kinds of stuff that happened in the promised land. Right now it's the NLT, the New Living Translation. We're using with them like the idea is like we want them to understand the content, like the facts, so to speak, of the story. Like the characters get a sense of all that. First, the idea is like when they're young, taking them through those stories where they, learn about the different characters and the different things that happen, and then next time through, taking it through, and I guess with that kind of talking to them a little bit about what that means, like kind of cause and effect, like why stuff happened the way it did, and helping them just understand, like restate the facts. So like a lot of times we'll go through a chapter or something and I'll just start asking questions about it to them, like, well, so what happened, blah blah blah, and then they kind of restate to me like what they heard. And a lot of time, if they're listening, usually do a pretty good job. If not, like I correct them and restate to them like, well, this is what happened. If you would have been listening, you wouldn't have been good for, or no, I don't. A lot of times I don't try to be gracious with them, but then ultimately when they get older, they get more into not just observation, but they move more into interpretation, like, well, what does this mean? And then application, which is, well, what does this mean for me? Like once they are established and like they are kind of owning their relationship with the Lord, then they're kind of going, taking it to that level. At least that's the hope, that all this is kind of lays the groundwork for it, and then when they get older, they're familiar with the story, so it's easier to grasp, easier to observe things because they already have a basic understanding of the facts, and then they can start to interpret it, like, well, what does this mean, and then what does this mean for me, like how does this really apply? And now, I'm not there by any means. I'm still learning stuff every day, things if I take the time to listen, and just kind of spend time walking through it. But kind of at a point now where it's like even the words, like there's just all kinds of stuff hidden in different words and whatnot when you start diving into translation and then seeing where that's applied in other places, and it's just like endless. You can like just some really cool things that kind of connect, and not just that with the words, but also with the types and the symbolism and how that all it's just really neat. Yeah. So that's kind of what we've been doing right now in the interim, and then been talking about maybe doing a study. Like it'd be neat to do a study, like just go through a book and stuff like that. Not that the stuff we've been doing is bad, like with the community group stuff we had going where we kind of unpack the lesson or whatever and talk about it. but it'd be kind of neat to actually go through a book and then like see the context and kind of go at a slower pace. Because a lot of times on the Sundays and stuff, it's been a lot. It's more of an overview and kind of a cherry picking, just kind of hitting some highlights in the book, but not maybe going as deep as you could go in it by looking at the different chapters or really kind of spending some time in it. And so I don't know, that's something that's we've been kind of mulling over, like how we would do that. And one thought was like maybe doing a study online, whether it's through YouTube or Zoom or something. It'd be kind of neat to do that, I think. Maybe better to do it in person, and like be able to actually sit around and discuss stuff and whatnot. But, in the interim, maybe do something online, like a little deeper dive into something. So kind of been thinking about that a little bit. It's good to correspond with you. I mean, like I said, well, it stinks we've not been able to, like, things aren't back to normal. I don't feel like yeah. I hear you. That's why it's been good, like, one-on-one, like, just getting together a little, and that's what I talked to Ken about that a little bit. Like, if anything, yeah, we can't do, like, 50, 100, 500 people, whatever. But, maybe it's, like, groups of, like, 2 or 3, or maybe having some people over, and doing this, doing, like, a really lot smaller scale. Kind of like what we've been doing, really. I mean, you come over, we've hung out a couple times, gone mushroom hunting. You came over to Dad's, got those rabbits. I mean, it's just good to like hang out like that, So all that to say that, yeah, we'll have to do it again because the girls. The other thing too that's really cool about this time. I mean, I know a lot of people are kind of poo-pooing things. I mean, as long as we're employed and like, I don't know, the things don't go completely south. One thing's been really cool is just having the additional time with friends and family, like select friends, as there's opportunity, but especially family. Like the girls are on a reduced work schedule right now, so because they're prioritizing like nurses' hours and stuff like that over the part-time help, and so they've been home more in the last month than the last 2 years. As far as when I'm around, on weekends, I mean, things were just going at such a fast pace. It was just, it was, and you don't really realize it until you step out of that, and things are like, have slowed down, and we're actually able to spend time together. Like we've had more sit-down meals together, which has been nice. Being able to just spend time together, and so it's kind of making me think like, some of these things, do I really want to pick that up again? Do we want to go back to that? So I don't know. It's going to be interesting to see how it all plays out. But so yeah, I have some probably a bunch of plants for you. I mean, I've got nine 3/4 trays of tomatoes now, different varieties. Yeah, they've been liking it. I think. Well, my one daughter doesn't like it. She's more social, like really has really missed everything, and it's affecting her. Maybe one of the other kids who's kind of like her, kind of same deal. They're ready to get with people and all that. But my other kids seem to have really appreciated the time. Yeah, Emma. No, it's Olivia. She's the one that's real social, gets energy by being with people. Um, I'm kind of in the middle where, I can have a good time with people, but I can have just as good a time by myself, like just kind of hanging out and doing my thing. And yeah, it is tough. I don't know, maybe we can get together again, man. Um, the next week or two. Do some more mushroom hunting. Maybe grill out or something. That's one thing we were talking about today too. Is do a good job like getting all this stuff and growing all this stuff, but not a real good job at. We could do a better job at preserving it and in having like a plan as far as how we're going to use everything. And so that's one of the other things too. We're starting to do is just kind of research some things, recipes and things like that. Yeah, I had contemplated getting a smoker, um, doing something along that line. I've got the grill out back, and then the other thing that was, I get a lot of flack for. They're like, oh, you don't, blah blah. That'd be the last thing we get as a outdoor pizza oven. I thought would be really cool. There's a company called Uni, OONI, that makes a really cool model that runs off. They got one that runs off gas and wood chips, or um, wood, and the other one runs just off gas and does. They've got a 12-inch and a 16-inch model. But yeah, a smoker I think would be really neat, especially if we end up getting some meat this year and want to do something with it. So. We got some, got to figure out what I'm going to do with all these peppers. Got quite a few here potted up. I've got, yeah. Yeah, seen online instructions. It looks kind of involved. Yeah, there's quite a few. And then back here, I think these are my red Thai chilies that popped out. And again, these are my backup peppers. I had when originally I thought that the ones I started in a tray weren't going to come up. I started a couple of varieties, the ones that looked the worst, like nothing was coming up. Well, they all sprouted and took off. So now I've got all these extras here that I'm going to have to do something with. So anyway, all I have to say is that I'll probably have potentially some more stuff. Yeah, pretty much anything you wanted, and you could probably, once everything's ready, you come over and pick out what you want, because there's going to be plenty. So, well, I tell you what, I will, yeah, you'll get there. I'll water these in and then probably jump off here. I think Tom was going to be trying to stream tonight. Maybe we could jump over there. We could jump over there and see if he's online yet. He didn't give me a time. Usually if he does, it's going to be later in the night, like probably 9, maybe 10 o'clock. What I can do, I can message him and see see if he is going to go through with it. Yeah. All right, man. Well, hey, it's been good chatting with you, and we'll catch up. We'll try to get together again. It'll be fun. So tell Gracie that Jen and I said hi, and yeah, we'll catch you here another time.